Greetings, fight fans. This is James E. Ray for BoxingInYourFace.com. Tonight we're going to be talking to the legendary Hall of Fame boxing referee, Mr. Fair but Firm, Joe Cortez. We'll be discussing the title fight he refereed this past weekend between Gamboa and Salido. Joe, the first round, it was tough. Tell us about it.
Well, let me tell you, James, this fight was a fight that the fans out there were watching, and they can see I was working my tail off that night. It was not an easy fight, but I've been in more difficult fights in the past. And I can tell you, it was one of those fights, as a referee, you have to be on your toes and be able to be thinking while on your feet. It wasn't an easy fight, but I might have made it look easy to some officials out there watching, but it was a fight that I had to take control from the beginning. Okay, there was some fouling. Some of it might have been intentional, borderline stuff, and I had to give some light warnings to both fighters to take control.
You know, during the fight, there were a few flash knockdowns. From your perspective, what happened?
Well, what happened was that Gamboa got hit with a punch, a straight right hand, and he really got caught solid. Maybe from the audience, they looked out solid because he was moving, and he was throwing a punch at the same time as he was getting hit. He was throwing a left hook, and when he got hit with that punch, it threw him off balance as he was throwing his left hook, and it was borderline, but I felt that the punch was solid enough that kept him off balance, and he went down, and I ruled it a knockdown. But these things happen. That's when the referees have to be prepared. And you got to call. It's a judgment call. Depends on the position that I'm in. I may see one way, and the commentators or the fans may see another way, but I'm closest to the action, so I believe I made the right call.
Was the 12th round as difficult as it looked? I mean, it brought to mind a question that you answered on BoxingInYourFace.com. Asked the ref, can a title be won or lost on a disqualification? Because I know it was close.
Well, James, let me tell you, the fans after the fight were coming up to me and telling me, Joe, you worked your tail off tonight. You made some very difficult calls, and we're glad that you were the referee in there because you took control. You didn't lose your cool. You knew what you were doing. You took your time. You called in the ringside doctor, and which is what I did. A fighter gets hit with a punch, goes down. And to everybody's surprise, and to my surprise, which has happened in the past, you tell the fighters, don't hit your opponent while he's down. And what does Gamboa do? He hits him while he was on the canvas. I told Gamboa in the dressing room, like I tell all fighters, their pre-fight instructions. Don't hit your opponent while he's down. If you hit him while he's down, it's going to cost you points, or you may be disqualified if he can't continue. Well, you know, the fans themselves probably wondering, what is Joe going to do? Could he disqualify the fighter? Well, let me tell you. I could have disqualified him, but the fighter was willing to continue. You see? And good thing that Salido had the heart and the guts to say, I want to continue this fight. Somebody else might have laid down and stayed down. You see? So, had he stayed down, and the doctor then would have tell me, like he's told me in other fights I've done in the past, when the opponent gets hit while he's down, you must stop the contest. My hands are tied. I have no choice. The ABC rule says if a fighter gets hit with a flagrant foul and is unable to continue, he loses by disqualification. The fighter who caused the injury loses by disqualification. So Gamboa is lucky that Salido opted to continue the fight. That saved Gamboa from losing the 2 title belts that were on the line that night. Gamboa, I told him, and I told his trainer, give me clean fights in the future because other referees may disqualify you, and you're lucky that Salido was man enough to get up. And he had the courage to continue the fight, even though it was the last round. Somebody else might have laid down. You would have lost the fight on disqualification. And I think that's where he has to sharpen up because Gamboa has great skills. And the fans have seen him around. He does great in the ring. However, he has a tendency of doing some foulings in there that are not permitted in boxing, and this can really affect his career down the line. So he got to be very thankful that the fight was not stopped, because if it had been stopped, he would have lost by disqualification, and the fans would have not been happy, and he would have not been a happy camper himself. He would have been very, very upset, but he would have had nobody to blame but himself. So if anything he's got to do, when he goes back to the drawing board, do his homework and watch the fight again, he got to remember, and like I tell all fighters out there, don't hit your opponent while he's down. If you do, it may cost you a disqualification. Definitely going to cost you points, which I did. I deducted 2 points, and the fight continued. And the judges, by the way, also took action by scoring it a knockdown. I call it a knockdown. Judges took action. They deducted a point. However, those point deductions is what can hurt you. And if that would have been a real close fight with 2 points, never mind 1, but 2, he would have probably lost on a decision. I mean, fighters got to be very careful. As much as I've been in the ring telling fighters, give me a good, clean fight, protect yourself at all time. But how can you protect yourself when you're hurt and you're on the canvas and the guy hits you a whack behind the head? It's not permitted.
Now, Joe, I've been watching you for many years, and you move just as smooth now as you did then. Tell us your secret.
Well, I try to keep myself in good physical condition. I have a ring in my house, and I move around, keep myself in shape, work out on a regular basis. And this is something that I'll tell viewers out there and referees. You stay young and healthy, work out a little bit, do a little exercise, because exercising will just keep those muscles loose, and you have that flow in the ring. As a referee, you have to be moving around that ring. Most of the time, just like a fighter sometimes. I mean, you want to go in there and be falling over yourself because you don't have the ring mechanics. Practice your ring mechanics, which I love to do. I love dancing, so that helps me a lot in the ring. But being an ex-fighter has given me a little bit more, how can I say, opportunity to see openings, and I can sense certain things that happen to a fighter because I've been there. I know what fighters feel like, when they get hit to the body or when they're a little dazed. I mean, I remember one time when I was a fighter, I got buzzed. One time I remember getting buzzed, and that always stays in my head. So I say to the fighters, if I see that you're taking a little too much punishment, I'm there to protect you. I'm like your guardian angel. I'm going to protect you. Safety is first and foremost, and I sure don't want these fighters getting hurt. So yes, I love working in the ring. I love helping other referees. I have Tony Weeks, Kenny Bayless, Mike Ortega, Benji Estevez, and Mark Nelson, just to name a few of the referees that I've been working with. And Russell Mora, who just refereed a fight with me on the championship card last week. So yes, there's a lot of good fine referees coming up and coming. There's seminars coming up in October in Nevada. There's some I'm going to be doing in Puerto Rico. There's some I'm going to be doing, I think, in Germany in a couple of months. So I really enjoy teaching, helping these officials to become better officials, to raise the bar. And there's always room for improvement. I don't care how good you are, we can always get better. What can I tell you?
Yeah, Joe, you have another website other than boxinginyourface.com. Tell us about it.
Well, I have a website. It's called fairbutfirm.com. And I created that website about 6 years ago to help other referees. I created seminars on there so I can guide the referees in the right direction. All the way from amateur ranks right up to the professional levels. I want to help referees become better referees. I feel that referees need a little help, and they look up to me because I've been in this for so many years, so many championship fights. I've lost track of how many fights I've refereed throughout the years, but it's been quite a bit. I would say over 170 world title fights. And me being an ex-fighter, Golden Glove champion, people say, Joe, you won the Golden Glove 6 times? Well, let me clarify that, because I've gotten some emails. People say, Joe, Mark Breland won the championships 5 times in New York. How can you win them 6? I said, wait a minute. Let's clarify this. I won the Spanish Golden Gloves twice. I won the Eastern Golden Gloves. The National Golden Glove, which is the intercity bout between New York and Chicago. Back then they called it the Nationals. And I won the New York Open and the Novice. So those are my 6 Golden Glove championships. I wanted to clarify that with individuals out there and say, Joe, okay, those are 6 championships. Not New York championships. 2 New York, Novice and Open. 1 Eastern in Madison Square Garden, but we had to fight twice the last night. And those were great nights. I can say, not that I wanted to blow my own horn, but I knocked out 2 opponents that night in Madison Square Garden. So I take a lot of pride in that. I was a little skinny little wimp, but I was a good smart boxer. And the fighters we were fighting were champions from their respective state. They were no palookas. These guys were good fighters. And back in the 60s, when I was boxing in the amateurs, then in the pros, had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I like to share that information with you fans out there, because people say, Joe, how do you move around that ring, and what is it you look for when you stop a contest? When is that precise moment? Well, being an ex-fighter, James, has helped me, give me the little instinct of when to stop a contest. Not too soon, but not too late. Safety comes first.
Joe, we really appreciate you spending this time with us, because even for someone like me, all the fans out there, we know everything about boxing, but we know nothing. And you giving us the time, coming in here, spreading your wisdom and your knowledge about the game, it's really great. And really want to thank you, and hope we can do it again soon sometime.
Well, James, let me tell you one thing. It's been an honor for me to be here with you, and I want to thank you for letting me explain myself and educate the fans a little bit in reference to our duties as a referee. So thanks a lot.
All right, anytime. Just give me a call.
You got it.